Welcome back. I'm moving on to our first segment of today, talking about the economic status here in Egypt and women empowerment. And everyone is talking about how we can support women and help them to face all challenges. And recently also there were talks about this, whether we're talking about the event of Mother's Day and also about a speech delivered by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in this respect. So we're going to discuss this in more details with our guest for today, Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Shams University. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Najma.
I'd like to start from women empowerment. And really, we have to admit, first of all, that I think this is the first time to feel the leadership supporting women in all our rights, whether we are talking about the challenging needs of life, women empowerment, talking about the new law that everyone is talking about. So first of all, I want to talk about this and its impact on the economy in general.
Yes, first of all, allow me, Nashwa, to just clarify one important fact regarding the role of women in Egypt. We kept talking about empowering women, and even the word empowering and the translation into Arabic, tamkeen. This is provoking to a large extent a lot of men in Egypt, specifically those that are not supporting very well the participation of women, the full participation of women. And we have a very high percentage in the population that they still thinking that women should abide by the reproductive rule, and if we do that, this is going to be quite well for the society. So in order to change this attitude, it's not an easy task. And we have been working on that for more than 20 years. And most of the indicators regarding the participation of women politically, socially, and economically can prove to a large extent that we still have a long way to do regarding this empowerment, which means that regarding the participation, the political participation, we have done very good progress by increasing the number of women in ministers and in the parliament. Nowadays, we have the highest percentage as 24 to 25%, which is great, compared to the previous participation. So these are actually achievements that are good, but still regarding the participation, the economic participation of women, still very minimal, from 18 to 22%, and the participation of women in the labor force is still quite minimal, 20% only. This is proving that we have a lot to be done regarding economic empowerment of women. And since women are mostly, suffering from poverty, the phenomena of feminization of poverty, still, a lot of efforts should be done. And we have the political support, as you mentioned, and the ceremony of the Mother's Day that has been attended by President el-Sisi and the First Lady, proved that, because, it gave a very important, message regarding that women in Egypt are supported, by very high political support. And from here, we have to seize this opportunity in order to translate that into action plans and policies to empower women.
Right, and even as you mentioned, the speech that was delivered also by First Lady Intisar el-Sisi, and let me say that each Egyptian woman must be proud, and Egyptian woman is a hero, because the woman here in Egypt is facing a lot of challenges, starting from the first minute of the day till after midnight. She's supposed to do a lot of things.
I agree with you.
And if you allow me, we are talking about the participation of women in labor market, but also let me say that to a great extent, if you are talking about informal economy, we have a lot of women working in this, but we need to support them because in the informal economy, again, we are losers as a country because we needed to be outside, we need to work together, this harmony that we used to talk about before, and also talking about how to help and give them to feel comfortable just to move inside or outside from the informal economy to the formal economy.
Yes, you have tackled a very important point regarding informal sector in Egypt. The informal sector in Egypt is representing a big challenge for the Egyptian economic performance. Why? Because it represents more than 50% of GDP, so it's huge percentage of economic participation. And from here it comes that it has two sides. One is positive because the informal sector is absorbing a high percentage of employment, so it has a positive impact regarding, this absorption of labor. And opportunities of jobs, specifically for women, as you mentioned. This is from the first perspective. The second perspective, the informal sector is allowing a product with reasonable price, and this is another dimension because the need of the middle class and the poor people, they can have a good, less in its quality, but at the same time at reasonable price that can cope with their income. And from here it comes, this is the second, important role of the informal sector. But besides that, they have a severe negative impact that we don't have taxes, we don't have even any kind of control. Why? Because this informal sector can produce regardless the qualifications of the product. It could be, detrimental from health perspective and so on. So this dilemma we have been working in for the last 30 years. Our new law of SMEs has tried to address such dilemma by giving some incentives for the informal sector in order to encourage them to transfer into a formal sector, like regarding tax, not exemption, but a very easy way of dealing with taxes, with a figure to be paid for each company according to the size of business involved in. So I believe that whatever you can do, addressing informal sector should be in the applied life, which means that you are not just by issuing a law, you are going to, we cannot be able to address the informal sector unless you have task forces to go to specify the needs of those companies and projects, to study their challenges facing and confronting, and to try to alleviate the burdens they are suffering from. And actually I have several applied researchers with informal sector, and they were actually, when I asked them, a lot of them, are you capable or you want to join the formal sector, they are willing that. But if you can offer some incentives like guaranteed loans or non-financial services, they agreed upon transferring from the informal into formal sector. So addressing informal sector by just issuing a law, and you can expect that they are going to be transferred, I don't believe, according to my studies and applied studies dealing with informal sector. And if you add women, you need more efforts, since women are, like you mentioned, they have a lot of responsibilities. They would like more easy ways to deal with them, so that they can cope with their reproductive role and you know, their tasks in order to manage, to penetrate the markets. This is quite hard for women. And if you go to the last exhibition bazaar regarding handicrafts and you ask people that, you know, I have several tours discussing with them their challenges, to what extent they can manage, you can have a lot of, you know, stories regarding how they manage, how they exerted efforts toward penetrating the market and doing well in the market.
Right. Just allow me, Doctor, to move on to a quick break. Then we will be back to resume our breakfast show.